After the Sean Spicer press conference, let me just read a few of the headlines after the Spicer press conference. From the Washington Post, Trump's press secretary just backtracked on at least one key Trump promise. Red State, Trump retreats from immigration hardline, continues Obama's executive amnesty. National Review, is Trump going to cancel DACA or not? Reading from the Washington Post here. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer just wrapped up his first full press briefing, during it he backtracked on at least one of Donald Trump's highest profile promises, this one concerning immigration, and seemed to move the goalpost on the other, involving the Affordable Care Act. Spicer confirmed that rolling back Barack Obama's protections for Dreamers is not a top priority for the new administration. Trump had promised to undo day one all Obama executive actions on immigration, perhaps most prominently the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which temporarily defers the deportation of young people brought here illegally as children. When asked in various ways whether Trump intended to make good on this promise, Spicer repeatedly indicated that this might not happen anytime soon. He said twice that President Trump would instead prioritize the removal of serious criminals before getting to questions such as these. The Washington Post, they add their flair into this, saying that it would be a political nightmare for the administration if they were to roll back President Obama's executive actions on the Dreamers, but they also say the Dreamers are tremendously sympathetic figures who are culturally American, who were brought here through no fault of their own, would be losing their ability to contribute constructively to American life. Trump recently backtracked on his promise, claiming that, quote, we're going to work something out for the DACA beneficiaries. Paul Ryan recently confirmed that discussions were underway to find a solution. Now, before I go much further on this, and I want to hear from especially those of you who were day one Trump supporters. Immigration was the issue for Donald Trump, right? I mean, it was the issue that really propped him up. Would you be disappointed? Would you be upset with President Trump now? If he came out and said, we're not going to do anything with the Dreamers. This move, if you've been paying attention, and if you've been listening to this show, I've been telling you now for a while, this is nothing new. Now, National Review, they were freaking out about this. Red State, in my opinion, National Review and Red State have their own agendas here. Right? Well, they all have their own agendas. But Red State and National Review, they've never been on the Trump bandwagon. Even when Trump had the nomination, they were saying that, it's going to be over. Donald Trump's going to be an authoritarian figure. You all saw some of the headlines about Trump. There were some individual writers with the National Review and Red State, but overall, the publications were anti-Trump. And I think they're using this as a way to undermine and hurt Donald Trump among Republicans and among conservatives. But if you've been paying attention, I've been saying for months now, Donald Trump's not going to do anything about Dreamers. The left has been freaking out since day one that Donald Trump, and granted his language about this did, if you only half-ass pay attention, his language sounded like Donald Trump was going to send everybody home. That Donald Trump was going to end illegal immigration. He was going to send everybody back. He was going to get them all out of here. And in fairness, he did say that a few different times. In a Phoenix immigration speech, he said, quote, we will immediately terminate President Obama's 2 illegal executive amnesties. And there were 2 actions that President Obama took, DACA and also DAPA, the Deferred Action for Parents. That one's in the court system, and it's being fought out in the legal system. So the number of illegal immigrants through the childhood arrival, somewhere around 750,000 is what you have. These are the number of illegals that President Obama was able to give some type of amnesty, if you will, to provide some work permits, social security numbers. They can go through and get a driver's license. The folks over at National Review, they write up a pretty good piece, say, right now, if President Trump wanted to, he would not have to roll out an executive order. What he could do is just shut down the office that handles the applications. He could say, no more applications for the childhood arrivals. No more. And you can, because you have to re-up every couple of years. Every couple of years you have to re-up that, you're part of the deferred action for childhood arrivals. And so what Trump could do is end that. He could end that office right now with a letter. It doesn't have to be an executive action, just a letter. Shut down your office. And he hasn't done that. But all along, I never bought into this idea that Donald Trump was going to send back all illegal immigrants, that somehow we're going to be able to send everybody. It's just not going to happen. And the Washington Post is, in a way, correct about Dreamers. They are a sympathetic group. Kids who were brought here, not their fault. All they know is America. All they know is the United. This is their home. As far as they're concerned, this is their home. This is where they grew up. It's where they went to school. It's where they went to high school. It's where they went to college. This is what they know. They can't vote. And so, would a President Trump have a more difficult time selling this to the American public? I think so. If he were to try and roll back the amnesty. But it's what a lot of people wanted. It's what a lot of Trump supporters wanted. They wanted illegal immigration stopped, and they wanted one of the magnets, which is the deferred action for childhood arrivals. You could call that a magnet, just like you could call in-state tuition for illegal immigrants a magnet. They wanted the magnets ended. And the White House right now is saying, hey, it's not a priority of ours. But in fairness, this is what the administration has been saying for a while. It's what the transition said. The transition said our first priority is to get criminal, illegal immigrants out. And then we'll work our way through the system and see what happens. Just received a couple of texts. Number one. First text that came in, I think Dreamers should be able to stay but not be granted citizenship, just legal status. And another text that came in. All Sean Spicer said is that it wasn't a top priority of Trump. He didn't say it wasn't a priority at all. I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's a priority at all. I think ending illegal immigration and building a wall is a priority. I think it's one of the top priorities. I think that it is a priority to get out criminal, illegal immigrants. But if you've gone through, and again, if you pay attention to what Donald Trump has said in different interviews, when it comes to children of illegal immigrants, Donald Trump has said, we're going to work with them. We're going to find a way. We're going to work with them. I don't personally think Donald Trump wants to send the kids out of here. I think he wants to go through and send out those who have been convicted of crimes, those who have been caught numerous times sneaking into the country. I think he wants to send those folks back. I think if you're a kid, you went to high school, you got a degree, you're going to college, I don't think Donald Trump wants to do anything. I think Donald Trump probably wants to stick with a law. I think Donald Trump wants Congress to come up with a law that he will sign that could be amnesty, but it could just be legal status, and that's it. It's something that I truly believe he and Paul Ryan have probably been working now. I don't think Donald Trump has any intention whatsoever, and I could be wrong on this. But I don't think Donald Trump has any intention whatsoever of sending the Dreamers back to their home countries. Just don't see it. 770-5790, toll free, 1-800-687-0790. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls. What do you think about this whole issue? Would you be disappointed if Donald Trump decided not to send the Dreamers back home? We'll be right back. All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. Let's head to the phones. And Chris, you are on KFYO. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Chad?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well, thanks, sir. Doing real good. I just had a quick question. I know this may be a little bit off subject, but I'm actually from Abernathy, out in that area. My kid goes to school there, and she came in last week telling me that, and I was just wondering if you knew where this was paid through or how. Some of the kids through the migrant program, I believe it was 7 of the kids out there, got a free trip to go watch the inauguration. And I'll be frank with you, it kind of burned me because they're doing a trip, but for my daughter to go with the school, it's going to cost me $3,500. So I'm sure this is paid through tax dollars. I was just wondering if you had any information on it.
I have to do a little bit of research on that because, no, I had not heard of that. I had heard of some programs, I think, from some other areas, not here in the state, but some other areas around the country that had sent kids. I didn't know that they were immigrants or illegal immigrants one way or the other to the inauguration. But I had heard of some other areas of the country who had sent some kids up, from different areas to watch the inauguration.
Yes, sir. Well, this, and maybe I said that incorrectly. I want to make sure it was through the migrant program, which to me probably is kind of somewhat the same, but it was somehow how you fill out your paperwork as a migrant or not, and that's how they pick these children to go.
Huh.
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
So, yeah, very interesting. And kind of me and some other folks kind of got together going, what in the world? And one of the teachers told my daughter, well, I don't care. I'm not paying for it. And my daughter's a junior, and she was like, no, you are paying for it if it's out of tax dollars because you pay tax money. Smart daughter
right there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying my
Good
best.
Good job.
In a bad world. So.
Chris, I'll look up some more. I'll try to get some more information on that.
Okay, I would appreciate it. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too. Bye-bye.
770-5790, toll-free, 1-800-687-0790. Let's head back to the phones. And Tom, you're on KFYO. Hello, Tom.
Hey, yeah, I was calling in about your about the comment on the Dreamers.
Yeah.
Those kids were brought here by their parents, but really they didn't break the law. I mean, they're not really classically what you call an illegal immigrant. And so even though I've been a huge Trump supporter from the beginning, I think they should be given amnesty.
So you wouldn't be upset, even though that Trump early on said all the executive actions were going to be rolled back on this one for the Dreamers. You wouldn't be upset if he went, okay, never mind. We're not gonna get rid of that one.
Not at all, because
okay.
I don't think that they did anything wrong.
Yeah. What about is there a line that you draw? And I got a text about this from someone who said, for the kids who were brought here, okay, fine. It wasn't their fault. Give them the legal status, but you have to have a cutoff date. At some point you have to have a cutoff date. When do you start that cutoff date? Otherwise, doesn't it become a magnet?
Well, I agree with Trump. You have to secure the border, and you have to get the criminals out.
Right.
And then I think I think amnesty for the Dreamers for me would be perfectly fine. And then I think you have to look at a process to allow the people that are here, the hardworking people, the people that haven't broken any laws, a process to go through where they can get worker status and green cards.
So are you for a pathway to citizenship or a pathway to legal status, or what are you for?
I would never be for a pathway to citizenship, but I would be okay with a pathway to to a guest worker program.
Okay.
Where they would have green cards and be able to stay here and work in America, and then start a process, maybe down the road where they can get in line and apply just like anybody else.
Were you a day one Trump supporter?
At day one.
Huh. And the only reason I sound surprised, and it's because I am a little bit, because day one, I mean, Trump, it was hardline anti-illegal immigration, send everybody back, and that's who, most of the people who you meet who are day one Trump supporters, they're not for a pathway to legal status. So that's why I was just asking you those questions. Tom, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Have a good day. If you're on hold, stay where you are. I want to continue the discussion when we come back here on the Chad HD Show, KFYO. Been talking about the Dreamers and whether or not President Trump will roll back an executive order from the Obama administration on the Dreamers, whether or not he should, whether you care or not if he does that. So far, it doesn't seem like a lot of people would be upset if President Trump just kind of leaves the current process as far as the Dreamers go in play. Let it continue until a law is drafted by Congress. And I think that's what ultimately they're waiting for, is for Congress to, come up with something, for the Speaker Paul Ryan and congressional leaders to come up with something that'll work. And Joni and I talked about this during the break, is I think if the public sees Trump moving forward on securing the border, people won't care too much about the Dreamers. But there has to be a date. There has to be a time where there's a cutoff. Otherwise, it becomes a magnet, which I think it is right now. It becomes a magnet, and it's, again, hard to blame the kids, but it becomes a magnet for people to keep coming across the border. Let's head to the phones, and Daryl, you're on KFYO.
Good morning, Chad.
Hey.
I agree with you on that. You always steal my thunder.
I'm sorry.
And the thing is, I think this Dreamers Act is a red herring right now. Trump's got so much on his plate that's so much more important. It's going to take a long time to get the goat stench out of the White House. So I think this is, just one of those things that's thrown out there to sort of divide the Republican Party.
Well, if you read some of the conservative press, and by that I'm meaning Red State, their conservative press, National Review, that they're shocked by this. When I heard Sean Spicer yesterday, I mean, people who have been paying attention have been hearing me and others for a while now been saying he's not sending everybody back. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's Donald Trump is not this. The left has painted him as this evil man who's going to go door to door with a SS type force and rip people out of their homes. And I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's ludicrous to start with.
Yeah.
But just on the surface. But like I said, I think this has been thrown out there by the left and the media, same thing, just to throw another division into the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And, he'll get to it when he gets to it. And Congress needs to address it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's ultimately what they're going to wait for is for Congress. And I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I think within the first 100 days, it'll be an all-encompassing immigration and border security piece of legislation, and all of this will be wrapped up, and then he can get rid of the executive action because we will have a law.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's going to happen within the first 100 days. And again, I think if we see real action, that there's going to be a secured border, now, whatever it looks like, that remains to be seen. But the federal government going and securing the border, Dreamers, I think people will say, you know what, not the kids' fault.
Well, of course, I hear that the Mexican president's just striving to get across the border to talk to Trump.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to meet, and actually, you have a presidential candidate in Mexico that wants to campaign in the U.S., which is weird, but okay, hey, that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like we haven't had leftist presidential candidates go and campaign in other nations. We've seen that before. So,
yeah.
whatever. Hey,
All
Daryl,
right.
thank you.
Take care, bud.
770-5790, toll free, 1-800-687-0790. You can send in your thoughts via email, chat at KFYO.com. Before we take the next break, saw a story. This is out of Pittsburgh. You got to be careful with who you get into debates with about Donald Trump. An altercation over President Trump Monday resulted in a Pittsburgh man's right ear being bitten off. Police said that approximately at 6:45 in the morning, officers responded to a gas station in East Liberty where a 30-year-old man was requesting treatment after being assaulted in his nearby apartment. Said his roommate assaulted him during an argument over Trump's immigration policies. Both men are from Mexico. The roommate expressed concern that he would be deported under the Trump administration. When the argument turned violent, the attacker bit off Ortiz's right ear. Well, now if you're illegal, now you just made yourself a criminal illegal immigrant. Ortiz ran to a nearby gas station to seek help. Paramedics arrived at the scene, transported Ortiz to a local hospital. I guess he's a Trump supporter. Got into a fight. You got to be careful. Some of these Democrats are still very upset. They're on edge. Well, they'll start biting your ears off. It's not good. 770-5790, toll free, 1-800-687-0790. We'll be right back. Send down to San Angelo and Don. You're on the Chad Hasty Show. Hello, Don.
Hello, Chad. Just traveling through your fair city here. I had a comment for you. You know, we're talking about excluding or possibly taking out a lot of people out of the country because they were brought here as illegal, if you would, to no choice of their own. But how are you going to pick and choose who leaves our fair country? Because you've got anchor babies that come from all over the world. The mothers come in, give birth, and now you've got a population of American citizens, if I understand it right, that you're going to have to throw out. Are you or are you not?
Well, you're not going to throw out the U.S. citizen, no.
But they came here with the explicit purpose of giving birth.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're talking about the parents.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is making its way through the court system because that was another executive action. It was called deferred action for parents of the childhood arrivals. And this goes down to the whole point where that Democrats have brought up about not separating families. And that's why I think what you will see ultimately from the Trump administration, I think you would have seen this from almost any administration on the Republican side, is we've got to secure the border. We've got to get rid of criminal illegal immigrants, and that's something that President Trump has said we will focus on. And everybody else will deal with in a different way. What that way looks like, I don't think anybody knows.
And I agree with you. If it's a criminal element that's got to go, they should have been gone yesterday.
Right.
But I agree with you. These not anchor babies, but those children that have been brought here to no choice of their own, humanly we got to work through this issue as best we can, and it can't be done overnight.
Yeah, you're right. Don, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good one. All right, let's head back to the phones. And John, you're on KFYO. Hello, John.
Hey, guys. Hey, I'm still of the mindset the Bracero program solves it all. All we can do is all these people here, the dreamers, they pay in. It goes, we do a treaty with Mexico. All the money in Social Security goes to an account. If they leave the country, they go to get a green card. It's going to be fairly easy for them to get a green card. But if they do anything illegal, they go to Mexico. They go out of country because they are not citizens of the U.S. They fall into the illegal status of criminally illegal. Then whenever if they want to apply for citizenship, they can. Since they've gone through our school system, they will know hopefully they'll know the citizenship stuff and be able to get through the test. Till then, they go back to Mexico, and their families do as well. But they pay into the Social Security program, and if they don't go home, if they stay here illegally, they lose their benefits and they get kicked out of the country. That's how it has to happen.
All right, so you're for sending the Dreamers back home, wherever they're from.
I'm for giving them part of the Bracero program. They are become green card members of the society. If they are productive, if they pay taxes, and do that sort of thing, then they can stay under the green card status.
Okay, so they don't have to go back to their home country.
Not immediately.
Okay.
But if they do not, and they can apply for citizenship and go through the process just like everybody else.
Right.
If they don't, then they go home. They take their money with them back to Mexico, where they'll have families there. And we support Mexico this way. This creates stability within Mexico people. That's right. We don't need to have another third World War with Mexico because they can't pay their people. You understand? They've got to supply. They have to have money to supply our people back home, and this creates that avenue, and it makes them go home to where their families are from.
Right. All right, John. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks.
Appreciate it. 770-5790, toll-free, 1-800-687-0790. Jay, you're on KFYO. Hello, Jay.
Hey, Chad, how are you doing?
Doing great.
Really, if you look at the Constitution and you look at the law, these children that are born of people that are skirting across the border to have a baby here are not U.S. citizens. They are not under the authority of the federal government. These parents are foreign nationals. And if you go back and look, I believe it's the 18th Amendment, they're not.
Hang on. Are you talking about parents who come here and have a child, or parents who are coming here and bringing children?
Parents that come here and have a child.
Okay, well, they're not Dreamers. That's you're talking. I think that's Don brought up anchor babies. Yeah. That's totally different. And still, what the U.S. is recognizing is that if that child who was born on U.S. soil is an American.
That's not what the Constitution says, though.
I know there's debate over that, but I'm just telling you that's what the U.S. recognizes as of right now. And that we can have that debate, but what DACA is just parents who bring over a 2-year-old. Should that 2-year-old be allowed to stay here?
I'm kind of the mind that the parents are the one who created the situation, and if they have to all go back, they have to all go back. They're not citizens.
All right. Jay, thank you very much.
Talk to you later.
Yep. Have a good one. 770-5790, toll-free, 1-800-687-0790. Jake weighing in on the text line saying, I do have a problem with it if Trump, this whole discussion that we're getting into here and wrapping up the show with, is what if President Trump, does not roll back DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. I think eventually it'll be soaked into a law. But the White House, I know some conservative sites are freaking out about this, about Sean Spicer's press conference yesterday, but Trump has been walking this back for months now. He has said that children who are brought here illegally, they're not our priority. Well, our priority is getting out the criminal element in this country who should not be here. One listener, Jake, weighing in, I do have a problem with it. Trump used it as a priority issue, and as soon as he gets in office to beat people like Senator Cruz, whom I think we would have been better off with, he says that Trump's going back on his word, and he used this as a priority issue to beat Cruz. Well, he did use it as an issue, but once he put it out there, he began walking it back. And I really don't think that a lot of people, I know I never took Trump seriously when he talked about deporting everybody, or when the media said that Donald Trump was going to deport everybody. I did not take that seriously. When it comes to the Dreamers, and we've had some good different views on this show, that you have a lot of people on one side who say, hey, it's not the kid's fault, don't punish the kid. If two parents go out and rob a bank today and they've got a 3-year-old in the getaway car, the 3-year-old's not going to be charged. The 10-year-old is not going to be charged. It's not that kid's fault. There are a lot of people who fall on that side. On the other hand, and we've heard it today on the show, People who say, no, we've got to draw the hard line here. Otherwise, I think the argument is it invites more people to break the law. That's why I think no matter what, there has to be, because right now DACA is a magnet. Just like in Texas, in-state tuition for illegal immigrants, it is a magnet. Whether you're for it or against it, it's a magnet. It's a carrot. We can get more into this tomorrow on the program. Of course, you can also email me, chad@kfyo.com. Get emails throughout the show. Always enjoy getting them. You can also follow me on Twitter, Chad Hasty Radio, and we'll probably talk about this on Periscope tonight as well. We'll talk again tomorrow here on the Chad Hasty Show. News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO.